from the College by the Lake, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Local, regional, national, and international guests discussing the issues and topics affecting the way you live are on Forum, the North Idaho College Public Forum, with your host and moderator, political scientist Tony Stewart.
Today we have a most interesting and intriguing topic for you. We're going to discuss the subject of guardian angels. I'm always so astounded that after we've been on the air so long, we can continue to find subjects that we've never done before. And in the 23 years that we have done this program, this is one of the subjects that we have not covered. And we're so pleased to welcome to the program Anne Marie from Spokane, Washington. She's a longtime friend, and she is the director and the creator of the Conscious Living magazine. And she is highly qualified to discuss this subject and many others that if we had time that we could pursue. Our guest is certainly known for putting together conferences and expos in Spokane and in Seattle, and certainly knows a lot of people around the country that deal with a lot of very, very interesting subjects. But Anne Marie was very gracious, and we welcome you to the program to discuss what we were wanting to deal with today, and that is, as I've indicated, guardian angels. Anne Marie, welcome to the program.
Thanks. Thanks, Tony, for having me here. It's really nice to be here.
It's great to have you here. And we're very pleased to have regular panelist Janelle Burke, who's an attorney in the state of Idaho, and we shall ask Janelle to commence today's questioning.
Great.
Angels are one of those things that get the interest of almost everyone. Can you tell us about your first experience with a guardian angel?
Well, I've had a lot of experiences. I feel like I've been really lucky or blessed. I don't know how you would define that, but I've had a lot of different angel experiences, and I think what I'd like to tell you about is my first conscious experience,
Okay.
and this was really the time when I realized that I had a guardian angel or had guardian angels. There was someone or some beings that were there to help us. And that happened, I think I'll start with, it was actually with my stepmother, who, when my son was born, he was her favorite baby, and Mike. And she always did everything for Mike, and she would say that, he's my favorite. And anyway, when Mike was quite small, she passed away from cancer. He was just an infant, about 2, I think just going on 2. Anyway, but another thing that she did while she was alive is that she taught me how to do the Heimlich maneuver on small children when my nephew had choked on a chip. And she was very careful to explain exactly how to go about doing that. And so anyway, she had passed away, and we were all just devastated by the fact that she was gone. And that put me into a whole mode of questioning about why are we here, and why do we leave, and why do some people go and some people stay. And I also went into this whole thing about religion and philosophy and the whole bit. Anyway, one night, my husband at the time and I were watching TV, and we'd already put the kids down to bed, and they'd already been checked on and rechecked, and all of a sudden I'm sitting on the couch watching TV, and it's like I could feel a tap on my shoulder. It was just, and I heard, and the voice that I heard was more, it wasn't like somebody screaming from the TV or talking from the room. It was like inside my head, and it was just very calm, and it said, "Check the children." And I went, "Check the children? I've already checked the children," And so I thought, nah, everything's fine. And I just sat there. And about another minute passed, and not even a minute, and I heard it again, and the tap came again. This time it was firmer. And so I thought, well, I've already checked on him. I didn't think about this as being a voice at the time, separate from me or anything. I just thought, I'll check on him again. So I said to Joe, I'm going upstairs and check on the kids. He said, "You've already done that." And I go, I know. So I went up, and I walked past Christy's room, and I could hear her, and she was fine. And as I got closer to Michael's room down the hall, I could hear this sound. It was kind of a gurgling sound. It was the strangest sound. And I rushed into his room, looked down in the crib, and he was blue. And it was my only experience of someone being blue before. I mean, he was literally blue. And I just yanked him out of the crib and did the Heimlich. And the phlegm and the milk shot out from his throat, and he started to breathe. And I just, you know, kind of slid down to the floor, just sat there, called out for Joe, and as I was sitting there holding Mike, I realized that somehow my stepmother Pat had come to warn me about Mike. And
So she was a guardian angel.
I feel that she was, yes, for Mike, that she had come to do that. And
not only have you had these experiences, but you have written in your own magazine. I have a copy of one of your issues on conscious living, and one of the articles is by you, Anne Marie. As a matter of fact, you entitle it "For They Have Come."
right.
And so I have a series of questions in relation
Oh,
to
great.
that. Also, to recognize your work. When you talk about guardian angels, in this case you identified a relative that had passed on. Are all guardian angels individuals who've passed on that are relatives or family, or can guardian angels be individuals that you've never met? I mean, what all encompasses the definition of guardian angels from your viewpoint?
From my viewpoint, which is different than many of the angel authorities in the world today. I spent a lot of time with Joan Anderson and also with Eileen Freeman when they were here last year, and they don't necessarily agree with the way I see angels. But I believe that angels can be anyone. Well, angels are defined as messengers, and they're messengers of God, or how I look at it, messengers of love. So anyone that comes to you bearing a message of love is an angel. So you really don't even have to leave your body in order to be an angel. Anybody can be an angel.
Even someone who's alive here?
Yes, very much so, you know, because they are messengers. And some people believe that they're thoughts, like in the Bible, when they talk about thoughts or angels coming to deliver a message, it's a thought of God being delivered or whatever. So my personal belief is that it can be a relative, it could be an unknown. Some people believe in ETs, extraterrestrials. I mean, it could be whatever. It could come to you, I think, in any form you're willing to accept it. If it's a relative, if it's in the form of a religious figure. Does that
answers
okay.
well. Now let's take it a step further with some of these authorities that have written on this, and they speak and they disagree with you. What do they say that would be contrary to the position you've just taken?
Well, of course, and I don't tend to totally disagree with what they say, but it's my feeling that it's only a part of the picture, that there's a lot more than we know. And they believe that angels are a separate race from the human race. And so there's no way that an angel could have been a human and then become an angel, that they were appointed as angels by God.
And that one of their roles is to serve the human race.
And to serve God.
Now then, one other question before we go back to Janelle.
Okay.
It relates to the whole question of angels. In a democracy like ours, we have free speech and we agree and disagree on lots of issues. And for the critic who says, I have to have evidence of everything from a scientific viewpoint, you've got to prove, and there has to be visible and so forth, and they would say they've never had an experience this law. How would you explain the difference between those critics and the people who have the experience? What makes it different, or what would you say to them?
First of all, I think I would say I'm sorry that they hadn't had that experience. And I don't know that there's anything that I could really do or say to change their mind, if that's what they are comfortable with believing, is that there are a number of people that are just not comfortable with the idea that there may be a being or someone with the capabilities of being aware of your life, and being able to come in and intervene at that point. But I think that what you can use is look at people's lives after they've had an experience and see how that has changed. See how these people have changed. Sort of like with the near-death experience. Once someone goes through something like that, they're a totally different person. And that was the case with me with angels. Once Pat came to me in that way, it jolted me. I mean, it literally it shook me up. It shook my whole comfort zone up. And I began to look at other things. So that's what I would say to the critic. Look at the people that have had these experiences and see what are they doing in their life. How are they? How do they treat others? You know, what type of changes have they made? I think there's proof there.
Okay,
Yeah.
Janelle Berg.
Life is full of many, many unusual circumstances and events, and we oftentimes say, how did that happen? What happened? Do you think when you hear an inner voice that is the angel coming to you? Is that, would you say the inner voice? Because quite frequently we have something that tells us don't go there, or but it's just a feeling. It's not necessarily something that we can verbalize or pinpoint, or even say that it sounded like rushing wind or whatever, although in some circumstances people do say that. But at many times they just express themselves in terms of, I just knew that something was wrong. How would you respond to that?
This is really a good question, Janelle, and I think it's one of those areas that people can get really confused in. Everyone has an inner voice. And I personally believe that that's our connection to each other and to God. That's the part of us that remembers who we are. Okay, and I'm sure if we stay connected to that voice all the time, that voice would tell us whether to turn left or turn right, or, you know, go to Florida or whatever. But we don't. Most of us get really caught up in all the outer voices that are going on, and things happen. Such as the story that I wrote about in the magazine on, as a teenager, I went off into some areas that weren't real safe. The voices sometimes need to come in seemingly from outside or stronger in order for us to pay attention, because that inner voice that you're talking about is so soft and so subtle that often we can disregard it. Okay. Is this
Yes.
answering your question?
Yes. So basically what you're saying is that's not the angel. That is your own inner self connecting with your outside world.
Right. That's how I look at it. Yes.
But you think that living people can be at times an angel to someone else. Say someone who is far
definitely.
away, and suddenly you have this feeling that they're here with you, but they aren't. Obviously, they're not. Have you had experiences like that, or know of people who have?
I've had something that's pretty close to that, and you can tell me whether I have. I had a hospice patient that I was working with, and I didn't work with her very long. I was only in to see her twice, but a lot happened during our time together on forgiveness and her fear of going on because of all the things she felt she had done wrong. Well, the second she left, I was driving in New Jersey down the turnpike, and it's pretty crazy on that road. Driving, and there she was, right in front of my face, and it was like I don't know how to describe it. It was like she was there. It was real clear to me that she was there. I could see her face, but she wasn't solid. Okay,
Yeah.
And she just smiled and just went on. And so I knew at that instant that she was gone.
Even before you received the word. Even
Oh,
before
yeah,
you
I
heard
got
the
home and got the message that she had passed away.
Yeah.
So this was on the way home. I got the message.
Another issue in relation to the guardian angels would be that for someone who's watching the program and is intrigued with what experiences you had, are there things that one can do in their own life or attitude or behavior that could increase the chances for those who believe in guardian angels to have more contact?
One of the things that I have a difficult time with is that there's a lot of people trying to go out and buy your guardian angel and have all these workshops to get in touch with your guardian angel and and have other people assist you. I don't think it needs to be that hard. I think all we need is willingness, and a willingness to believe in their existence, and that as soon as we are willing, I think that helps bring those. See, I think those experiences are really going on a lot, and that we're not aware of them. And so by being willing, we can have more contact. I think also commitment. If you commit yourself to 5 minutes a day to, guardian angel or guide or whoever it is, because I think that there are teachers and guides and guardian angels, and again, depending on your belief system, if you make that commitment to them, I believe that they'll make that commitment to you.
Before we go back, Janelle, I want to have another example from your article.
Okay.
Again, it seems like that so many of your experiences have been around Michael, your son, and there was another time when you had an experience when his life was in danger outside your home. If you'd tell that story to our viewers.
Well, this one was, again, now with this one in particular, I didn't have a feeling of a person or an angel or a family member that actually came and to assist in this one, but it was an experience that I couldn't ignore. And it was real hot. It was in the summer, and my son was, he was still pretty young. I believe he was about 12, was playing out in the street, in the gutter. The water's running down, and the kids would float their leaves down. And so he and another buddy were out there playing, and I was in the house running a bath. And I'm in the house, and all of a sudden I get this feeling, and where it hits me is right in the stomach, and it's sort of this pulling feeling to pull me outside. And I think, God, what is this feeling? I mean, it was an odd feeling enough to cause me to kind of... And I think another thing I want to say is that I'm not the type of person that goes around with my head in the clouds looking for angel experiences. I'm very much feet on the ground, taking care of the chores and things that need to be taken care of in front of me. I don't spend my time up there. And but when things like this happen, they cause me to kind of come out of my real routine. Anyway, so I followed that instinct, I followed that feeling, and I went outside. And the thing that was interesting about it was also there was sort of a strange feeling about, sort of around me at the same time. And so I went outside, and I started walking down the sidewalk towards where Mike was playing. And I'm walking, it's sort of like the Twilight Zone. I mean, it was just, woo. And I'm walking, and I get just about to the neighbor's fence where our properties meet, and I hear this door slam open. It was like a screen door with a lot of noise. It goes, poof. And I look up just as the neighbor is coming out with a gun. It was a rifle, and he was picking it up, and I could see that he was totally intoxicated because he was mumbling at the same time. And I looked at him, and then I followed where his gun was pointing, and he was pointing it right at Mike's bare back. I mean, he was just had his jeans on and bare feet and no shirt. And I was like, and then I looked back up at him, and I could see his hand on the trigger, his finger on the trigger, and he's mumbling about these kids being out in the street. And so, as a mom, I mean, you don't have much choice. You just kind of walk out in front of the rifle. And I started talking the whole time. And he dropped the rifle, dropped it down. He didn't drop it, and then slammed back into his house, and I yelled at the kids to go home. And, of course, we called the police and, did all the things you're supposed to do. But if I wouldn't have had that feeling in my stomach, I don't know what would have happened. I mean, he sure looked like he was going to shoot the gun. And the police found a whole arsenal in his house. And we moved away. Within 2 weeks, we moved out of that house.
You didn't want the feeling every week or every day?
No, I didn't want to have to count on a guardian angel every single day. So.
Janelle Berg.
There is a lot of interest in angels now. Of course, there always has been throughout history. There's been an interest in that particular, the being, the angel being. Mm-hmm. Why do you think people are so interested today?
We need it.
You think it's something inside us that is saying, and our world is so fast, and it's...
The world's fast, and it's dangerous, and it's speeding up. It seems like, don't you think, time is speeding up, and our children, they're not as safe as they used to be. I think that people are afraid, and we're looking for more than what we can see out here. We need more than what our religions traditionally have been offering us. We need more than what the TV and, what our money can buy. And it's not enough. We know that there's more. And unfortunately, a lot of times it takes trauma to get us to a point where we're willing to see something else or look for something else.
Do you think there are bad angels as well as good angels? You've not had experience with bad angels.
Never.
But in history, there are those who believe in bad angels. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. I believe that that we have a choice of whether we're going to see something through fear or through love, and I think that's really one of our only choices. And it may be that there are people that have died and gone and are sort of lost. I've heard of that a lot. That may be true, but I've never come across one personally that has been frightening or angry or scary. And I don't know if that's because I really haven't believed in them or because they don't believe in me, or I don't know why, but that has not been my experience. And most of the times when I've heard of people that are close to me talk about dark angels or dark experiences, it really had more to do with fear, either their fear of the experience or of the being itself. It didn't, that the being was lost, but I've never heard of someone close to me having a cruel poltergeist type of experience.
Anne-Marie, in answering a question a moment ago, you indicated that all your experiences have not been identical. When you talked about when Michael was choking and you felt the pressure on the arm, that was to you clear that the angel was there, and it was a physical feel even.
Right.
And the other one, when you had in the stomach, you didn't identify that as an angel. Can you tell our viewers, again with these, and you had other experiences, but can you tell what the difference is between having something, maybe just an inner intuition, whatever, I don't know what to call it, and how that contrasts with an angel?
I feel that feeling that I had in the stomach was really an outer intervention, what I would term more of angelic. Because
but not a guardian angel.
Well, yes, I do. I would
was?
say that it was. It was the way to catch my attention. That was not just that sort of gentle intuition, that knowing, and that's the difference to me.
Okay.
Usually, what I believe is it's sort of like you need a knock on the head, and that's the difference. One is usually louder and more insistent, and the intuition tends to be just sort of a knowing.
I think I heard you say something else, but you'll always correct me if I misinterpreted it. But you discussed a moment ago about your belief system and your attitudes. And I gather from that guardian angels would not be forcing themselves upon an individual who was resistant. So guardian angels are available, but not by force.
Right.
Is that correct?
Again, in my belief system, I believe that we have free will. That, you can see the wall there is blue, but whether you choose to look at the wall or not is up to you. Whether you even choose to agree whether it's blue or not is up to you. So I believe that that's the case, that it's a choice. Maybe the situation like with Mike, he didn't really have a choice in that. But it might be that he had more to do in this life. It was not time for him to go. And so there was an intervention. The same is true when I was a teenager and had an intervention that I saw saved my life. It was not time for me to go. And so maybe we don't always have a conscious free choice. We may have made an agreement about it on another level, at another time. I don't know.
With this particular philosophical position, it would explain, to your satisfaction, I would say, that we often find it so tragic when young people die from accidents or whatever, and when very elderly people die that have lived a long and very fruitful life, even though we miss them, we have a different attitude. But when some young people escape and some don't, or in a car accident,
right.
That part of that explanation may be that from the time of birth, some people just have more. Are you saying that they have a longer and greater mission than others, at least here?
It may be longer, but it may not necessarily be greater. I believe that a lot of the children that go when they're young, I had a sister that died at 17. Her life was very great, and not necessarily by the deeds she did while she was alive, but by the lessons that it caused us all to learn by her willingness to do that. by her dying and going through that tragic accident, it caused us all to go through incredible lessons and a lot of growth.
And
that was a great life.
And effects beyond their actual physical life.
Way beyond, yeah.
Janelle Burke.
Angels are portrayed in a lot of different ways, and throughout history they have been the subject of many, many paintings. Mm-hmm. I know that you collect angels as well. Can you tell me about some of your favorites and how you think that they should be portrayed?
My favorite...
Your favorite portrayals of them. How you think they look. In terms of, if you were an artist, how would you make them look?
Actually, I did do one painting of a group of angels, or teachers as I call them, when I saw them one time. And really how I saw them was different than all the big... I've never seen a wing. I've never seen
or
a
halo.
I've seen halos, and I would term them as different. They're more like light fields or energy fields around them that can be different colors. And in this one particular instance that I had, there was 6, and each one had a different color that sort of stood out, though they all had many different colors. And they were androgynous. They were not male nor female to me. I mean, I couldn't tell. And the clothing, again, could have been light, or I could have perceived that they were more like flowing type of robes. But it was light and not wings that I saw. And they were very loving. Love like I've never experienced on this plane from anyone, even family.
We're just about out of time, but I'll follow up on that.
Already?
And so already it's flown by. But with these experiences, you're saying that when the guardian angels contact you, you did experience a love that's different than you have had with human beings in the natural setting.
It's much more unconditional. It doesn't have anything to do, I didn't get that it had anything to do with what I did or anything other than who I was. And it was total, all-encompassing.
And accepting.
Totally.
That is a very important note on which to end the program. On behalf of Janelle Burke and our staff, Anne-Marie, thank you for being with us today. It's been very, very great having you here, and good luck to you in the future.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest has been Anne-Marie. We've been discussing the subject of guardian angels, and I am sure you've found this very, very interesting, and I would like to invite you to be with us again next week at this same time when we will discuss yet another subject. Until then, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
The North Idaho College Public Forum was videotaped live from the studios of Instructional Technology on the campus of North Idaho College for viewing at this more appropriate time. We invite you to join us again next week for another all-new edition of the North Idaho College Public Forum on this public television station.